Hey, you guys, we get a lot of questions about what herbs to use for this current time when so many of you are feeling really overwhelmed and quite stressed out. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. But before I do that, I'm glad you're asking that question because it's really important to address stress very proactively at this point. And I want to talk about this because one of the most profound events that happened with my own private practice is to do this exercise with my clients. I don't do it anymore because I'm not in private practice anymore, but I want to show you the tool so you can do it yourself. It's called creating a health timeline. And the timeline basically, actually, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can, so we can, you know how to draw it and what it looks like. But basically, it's the whole idea behind of creating a timeline is for you to understand how the different events that are happening, that might have happened in your life from the time of preconception, from the time and then when you were born till today, what impact have they had on your health? And so all you have to do is just pick up a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, right? And all you have to do is just draw a line across, right? And on top, you're going to be writing what are the events, or you can do it, vertically as well, right? Where you can just have the events on the left and the health changes on the right side. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you want to go back in your go back in time and start reflecting on some of the major events that have happened. And I'm going to give you some examples in a second. The reason why I say this exercise have been profound in many of my clients' life as well as in my own is that it gives you the incredible correlation. It shows you the incredible correlation between when a traumatic event happened and how soon after that your health symptoms started showing up, health issues started showing up. Something that most of the time we don't pay attention to. We go like, yeah, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2000, right? Or I had my gallbladder removed in 2005. And so we remember those dates, but not often do we think about how are they correlated with some of the major events that might have happened. And so I want to give you an example of this is from an actual health history of one of my clients. It was many years ago. And let me share. Actually, I think I'm sharing this. Oops. Let me just stop sharing and share this again. So you're gonna see this is an example of someone who created a health history from, you can see on top is inception, right? On the left side, we're going to be writing what are the life events that she experienced and then the health issues when they started showing up. And as you can see here, for example, 1973, I think that's when she was born. She had pneumonia as a kid when she was 1 month old and was not breastfed as a baby, right? And then soon after that, the health issues that started coming up that her mom told her about was chronic ear infections and eczema that was showing up on her skin. 1990, her parents went through a turbulent divorce, right? That's, don't take it for granted, right? It impacts us as kids in a huge way. And guess what? This is when she realized that her period stopped and she also developed mono, right? 1997 to year 2002, she was a caregiver to mom and stress of the final 12 months of her declining health and passing, right? During that time, she also lost 70% of her hair, fell out, and she started developing digestive issues, which are very common when it comes to stressful times. Then between 2005 and 2006, she said, very stressful job, worked myself to the maximum, took almost no breaks, right? And so it also happened in 2000. She also had infertility problems, breast lumps, and Hashimoto's in 2006. So it's interesting because her hair started falling out already in 2002. So I suspect she actually probably triggered her immune system already back then, and then it manifested in Hashimoto's in 2006. And then in 2015, she started going through a divorce and a heartbreak and a betrayal from her partner. And then in 2016, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm not saying that, one feeds the other, but I'm sharing this with you because, first of all, you're not going to remember all the life events. This could be an exercise for you that might take as long as a couple of weeks because as you start gonna think about it, you start dreaming about it, a lot of new events that are gonna start coming up, a lot of traumatic events we don't remember about because our brain just masters kind of, blocks it out, so that it's as a form of just protection mechanism. But I would really encourage you for you to do that and see how was your stuff correlated, if it was, right? And it can be an incredibly emotional period, because women go like, yeah, I lost a child, right? And then 6 months later, having a thyroid problem, right? Hashimoto's. And so anyway, it's the purpose of me doing this is just to show you, because I think what's going to hit you when you do this exercise, what's going to hit you is that how incredibly powerful these stressors can have you on your health. And the truth of the matter is that we cannot control those events. I mean, the fact that your parents are divorcing, you can't do anything about that, right? Your mom gets sick and you're the caregiver, you can't do much about that. I could totally get that. But we can do certain things to either change the way we're thinking about it. And I've done some videos in the past about reframing. If you want to watch that, I think it's a really powerful exercise of looking at the same situation from a different way. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about it in my newsletter that's coming out on Sunday. So if you're not on our mailing list, I encourage you to get there. Just go to hormonesbalance.com and sign up there. And so so what I'm saying is, as we are going through this time, and we had a team meeting, and all the team, all the ladies in my team were like, we're overeating, we're really overwhelmed, right? And not feeling great. And some of them coming down with not corona, but just regular flus and colds rather. And so there is a huge impact on how your stress manifests and how it can impact your immune system. So I really want to urge you to create this just to see for yourself. And as you're going, this whole corona lockdown, right? It's like one of the items on the left side. They should really go into your health history, because some of us, if we don't control and manage that properly, will have worse health after we come out of this. And it might not happen right away. It might happen 6 months later. It might happen a year later. It might happen even a week later, right? But it might impact you, especially if you're really allowing it to happen. So I would really encourage you to watch the reframe video that I did. That I also did a video on the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which is a wonderful way of engaging your parasympathetic nervous system. All of this I've done in my Facebook Lives in the past. So check those out. But today I want to talk about those herbs, because you're right that we cannot change the event on the left side, right? We cannot change the fact that we all locked down right now, but we can change how we think about it. But we can also support our system, our body, in with certain herbs. And I find that herbs are really powerful if you really couple them with a really good mindset. So doing, for example, things like a reframe. I want to give you an example, because as I was actually writing the newsletter for Sunday, and I suddenly realized that there was this event that happened when I was very young. I was 6 years old. I want to tell you about it. Oh, the microphone. I forgot my microphone. There is an event that happened so my parents used to leave us alone quite a lot, and at a very young age. So I think I was 6 years old at the time, maybe 7. And I was at home alone, and I suddenly told myself a story that there was a ghost in the house. And I got so scared that I had uncontrollable bladder movement and basically peed myself, right? I was literally like, I could not control it. I could just I can still feel it till today. It was so embarrassing. I mean, I was at home alone, so it wasn't a big deal. But I was like, wow, even if I'm tightening up my bottom, I just cannot stop peeing. It just all came out. And so the following day, it was a few days later, my parents left me alone at home. And I told myself this time a different story. I told myself that the ghost got scared of me and it ran away, right? Just it's very funny. And so in some ways, it's actually a reframe, right? Instead of telling yourself, it's a different way of telling a story, right? It's the same circumstance, you're at home alone. And instead of allowing that ghost story to take over, I told myself that, yeah, he got scared of me, or she got scared of me and ran away. And I laughed out loud. I remember starting laughing so much. I started having fun with myself just because with that happening. And I'm sharing with you this story because it is a classical way of reframing a thought, right? And so anyway, I'll leave it at that. But what is powerful when it comes to herbs is that a lot of times, we want to rely on herbs, and I'm going to give you some really nice herbs that really calm you down. Some of them are a little bit more sedative in nature. But the whole idea is that if you're just doing these herbs while you're allowing your mind to run crazy, tell yourself that story that's a ghost in the house, right? The way I did and Pete myself, which is also, if you think about it, imagine like the impact of a thought on physiology. Like I can make myself pee uncontrollably just by having an unhealthy thought like that or scary thought like that. And it's the same way, like if you're telling yourself really scary stories about like what's happening right now or what's gonna happen, you might need not pee yourself, but you might have a lot of other symptoms that are showing up. They're gonna be hugely detrimental to your health. And that's why I was showing in the health timeline the correlation between those two. A few years ago, my uncle's house burned down. It was on the 3rd of January. And in the middle of a Polish winter, which tend to be really, really heavy and cold, their house burned down. They grabbed literally their PJs and shoes and ran out of the house, and the house burned down. And 6 months later, my aunt had a breast cancer, right? I mean, is this a correlation? I wouldn't say so. Is this a direct, causation? Sorry, is it a correlation? Yes. Is it a causation? Probably not, right? But you think about the stress that has created on the person and how it can manifest. It can be really profound. So anyway, let's talk about herbs. I want to talk about 2 types of herbs that I think are really could be beneficial for us right now. The first one is more herbs that are helpful more at creating more resilience in your body's ability to deal with stress. And not surprising, I'm going to read this off from, we have this product called Adrenal TLC, if you want to give that a shot. But the reason why I love it is because it's got a couple of things here, including rhodiola and urethro. Now, both of these are adaptogens that grow in Siberia. And not just Siberia, but just like very cold, harsh climates. And it's really fascinating when it comes to herbs that a lot of the time, the qualities in which the herbs grow, these qualities get passed on to us. So for example, for rhodiola or for urethro to be surviving in a harsh, cold and hot, high elevation climate, it develops a certain resilience to survive, right? And in herbalism, as an herbalist, I can tell you that that's one of the things that we believe in, is that the herbs pass on these qualities to us. So it gives us the ability to be more resilient. So if you can get a hold of a couple of herbs, like rhodiola is phenomenal. It can really have, it creates this, people go like, it supports the adrenals. It does a lot more than supporting the adrenals. It supports your whole, HPA axis, right? So from the hypothalamus to pituitary to adrenal axis, and which includes your nervous system. So that's really where what's fascinating is the hypothalamus is where really the nervous system, the immune system, and the endocrine system all meet together, right? It's like a meeting point. And by being able to stimulate that or to calm it down, depending on which way you are going, it can have an impact both to help your immune system, it can help your nervous system, and of course, it will help your endocrine system. And my dog is Lala. Come here. Good girl. All right. So the first herb is urethro. So you spell it ELEUTHERO. Okay. So that's the first thing. You can do it in the form of tinctures. If you're doing it in the powder form, I don't recommend in the powder form unless it's a standardized one. And the one that we have here is in a standardized form, which means that you know that you're guaranteed to get a extract of these herbs in a controlled environment and not some, just powder put in a pill. The other one that is super helpful is rhodiola. You spell it HRHODIOLA. Rhodiola rosea. It's part of the rose family. And an incredible herb. Also, again, if you can get it as a tincture, do so. You can also get it as a supplement. And again, you want to get it in a standardized form, which that's what we have in the Adrenal TLC here too. The other one, which is kind of interesting, is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha can be very calming for some people. And that's a very classical adaptogen. So if if you're feeling right now super like overrun and overwhelmed and anxiety is taking over, ashwagandha could be a really nice add-on. The other one that we have in here is only 25 or 20 milligrams of licorice. And licorice, one of the cool things about licorice is it does give you like a boost of energy, but not like the way caffeine does, but it's like an uplifting, energetic herb, and it's not in a very high amount. And licorice is not going to give you hypertension unless you already have hypertension. So, okay, so that's all of those are in Adrenal TLC. If you guys want to give it a try, it's in our store. I'll put the link later on as well. The other one that I think a lot of people have a problem with is because of the anxiety, because of the stress, when your hormones go out of whack, right? We have problems sleeping. And remember one thing is that during time of stress, you're depleting progesterone. Your cortisol levels go up, and then by doing so, you deplete the levels of pregnenolone, which also produces progesterone. So it's a long way of saying stress basically depletes your progesterone levels, right? And this is when, especially women in perimenopause and menopause, we feel it more than younger women because we already are beginning to lose a lot of progesterone. And then you suddenly start feeling you cannot fall asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night, you can't go back to sleep, right? And all of that just becomes a real mess. And so, if you are going through a stressful time right now, progesterone actually can be a super helpful thing to add on as well. And doing that for, like, if you are cycling, you're just doing it in the second part of your cycle. If you are in menopause or perimenopause, you can do it for 25 days out of a 30-day period. So 5 days off, 25 days on. Okay, the other one that it's my personal favorite is our Sleep Restore. So I'm just gonna give you the herbs. You don't have to buy ours. You can, if you want to support us, great. And if you have your own favorite places to get it from, then please do so. So first of all, it contains B6. So that B6 helps you with your native progesterone production, which is really cool. And then it contains valerian, which is your classical, herb for that is a sedative. It contains also passion flower, which is, a lot of people don't know this, but passion flower actually also helps you with a lot of liver detoxification. So that's really awesome. It contains lemon balm, which is lemon balm is not a sedative. Passion flower and valerian are. So those are the two herbs in here that can help. And you can also make your own tea. I'm going to talk about teas in just a second. But you can also do, so it contains lemon balm. Lemon balm is more of a calming agent. So it's got lemon balm, chamomile, and lavender, which are chamomile, it's got chamomile, and it's got GABA. It's got no lavender, but you can do lavender, but I'll talk about this in a second. So it's got lemon balm and chamomile. The purpose of adding these two herbs here is that, the way we formulated this product is not to just like knock you out, but it's first to calm you down. And then when you fall asleep, your dreams can also wake you up, right? That's why we wake up in the middle of the night. And so the purpose of the chamomile lemon balm is to really calm down your whole nervous system. And then while the sedatives work, and then they actually induce sleep, right? So, and that way you have a calm sleep versus, being just knocked out first. Like if you take valerian on its own, you get knocked out of passion flower. And then you might wake up later because you are still feeling quite wound up. We also have 100 milligrams of GABA in here. For those of you who know, GABA is a very calming agent. So it works, GABA receptors in the brain is what gives you sort of a sense of calmness and composure. It also contains L-theanine, that's what's found in green tea, but that's the not the caffeine part, but is the part that actually makes you calm. And so that's what makes, for example, green tea different from coffee, is that both of them are caffeinated, but L-theanine in green tea is what helps you to kind of bring you down in terms of like energy, so you don't have like scattered energy. It can be a calming agent. And it's got 5-HTP, which is the precursor for your dopamine, and it's got only 3 milligrams of melatonin. So I'm not a fan of taking melatonin on its own, but in a combination of herbs is actually quite wonderful because it has a role of it's part of an orchestra rather than just a fiddle, right? And a lot of people are concerned about the criticism of melatonin, which I completely support, is that high doses of melatonin, meaning 5 milligrams and above, can shut down your pineal gland's own ability to produce melatonin, and you kind of become dependent on melatonin, right? We don't want that. But studies show that anything that's below 5 milligrams, recommended 3 milligrams a day, is what's gonna give you a really nice sleep, and it's not addictive. So during time of Corona, I also wrote about that. The melatonin is actually really super helpful. And hey, you guys, I mean, I don't need to tell you that sleep, obviously, it's huge in building up your immune system. Nobody feels good when they don't sleep well, and constant sleep deprivation and poor sleep can definitely zap your immune system in a big way. So let me just see what questions we are receiving, and then I want to talk to you about the different teas, because there's a way of making herbal teas that really have a medicinal value. Dipping your little herbal tea in a glass of hot water is not going to be all that helpful. So Shanna is asking, what's the name of the product? So if you go to our store, it's called Sleep Restore. That's the sleeping one, and the other one is called Adrenal TLC. That's the one that creates the resilience to stress. So I don't see too many questions right now. Let me talk about the tea element. So when you're making a tea, some of the herbs that you can play around with, which are really wonderful, they both calm you down and they can induce sleep, are actually, you know what, give me a second. Let me pull out, there is a document that I have, and I believe I really want to show it to you guys, because I think it's a really wonderful document. I want to show you like a whole spectrum of the different herbs and how they fare on a spectrum. We call it the herbal continuum. Let me just pull that out. Oh, there we go. That's right in here. I have it. Okay, let me screenshot it again. So this is an example of this is from our program Herbs for Balance, by the way, where you can see on top, I've categorized the herbs to stimulating, revitalizing, balancing and nourishing, calming, sedating to relax, and sedating to sleep. So for example, so since we are talking about calming and falling asleep, you can see here, lemon balm, chamomile, lavender, turmeric, damiana, all can be wonderful. I love making like a lemon balm, chamomile, passion flower tea before going to bed. But this is before going to bed, because as you can see, passion flower is on the right side here. This is sedating to relax. Together with California poppy, skullcap is another great one. And the ones that really have a sedative effect will be valerian and hops in here, okay? So maybe screenshot this, and I will try to put this in the comments. Hopefully it works. But anyways, you can just screenshot this or take a photo of the screen right now, so you can have an idea of the different herbs. The reason why I'm saying that, these tea bags don't particularly work, they're not super powerful, is because the tea bags, the herbs inside a tea bag are already cut up to such small pieces, right, in order to infuse them quickly. But they've been in the box for probably a long time, and the longer they are, the more oxidative they are. So think of it this way, like, how you have herbs that have been ground up, right? You open up your jar and you smell it and you're like, what is that, right? Because it doesn't have a smell anymore, right? And you go like, I think it was thyme. It says thyme, but does it smell like thyme? No. And it's important because the fragrance of an herb tells you, like, these oils actually is what smells, and these oils are hugely therapeutic, right? So a lot of the time you open up a tea bag, you smell it, and it's like, it doesn't really have a strong smell. So I really encourage you, if you can, to get, sorry, my nose is so itchy today. Might be something oily. Sorry about that. And I would encourage you to buy, bulk herbs, or basically loose herbs is more rather the right term. And like, for example, start off with lemon balm and chamomile and lavender, and then make your tea. So give you an example, like if this is a jar that I'm using, right? Let's just say I'm making a tea for the whole family, I would want to put herbs to about 1/3 of the jar's content, right? And then pour hot water on it, and you want to infuse it for like a good 30 minutes before you strain it and then drink it. And you can reheat it if you want to have a hot tea, right? But it's gonna be a strong tea, but we are looking for in herbalism, when we look for the 1 to 30 proportion in terms of weight of water to herbs. And this is where you truly harness the medicinal properties of the herbs, is to do it in that proportion, in that size. Okay, so just one more time, it's 1/3 of a jar like this, right? Top it up with hot water, steep it for cover it and steep it for 30 minutes. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. Could you also share with us, you guys, like, how are you feeling in terms of, how are you feeling? Because my team is struggling a little bit, even though everybody has their jobs. And so, that's the good news. We've managed to pull that off for now. But I'm wondering, like, are you adjusting to like the new normal for you, or are you struggling? Are you like, what's going on? Share with us. Tell us how things are. And I really want to, with this video, the video today, I really want to communicate a message that stress can be super detrimental. And so if you're finding yourself like really tensed up, your shoulders are tensed up, your digestion is all over the place, do incorporate these calming tools, the breathing exercise, the 4-7-8 breathing technique, the reframe that I talked about. Bring in some really nice herbs to calm you down, and also herbs that can help you build resilience, like what I was showing with the herbs. Actually, they're also on the left side here. You can see, right? Rhodiola, American ginseng, urethro, that's the Siberian ginseng, also known as cordyceps, maca, schizandra. Schizandra is one of my absolute favorites. You guys were formulating some new things, and schizandra is gonna be the rock star in there, and licorice, right? So those are all that helps you to help you create a lot of more resilience to stress. Your body doesn't just shatter. All right, I hope you find this helpful. I wish you a wonderful weekend. If you are, I find it fascinating, people saying they're bored, because I'm like, I have all these projects I want to do. It's like, finally I have the time for it. So I don't know, one of them, I'm making a lot of different tinctures. So my shelf is like literally covered in 30 bottles, jars that I'm infusing herbs right now, and I'm going to be making some tinctures. Anyway, I'll tell you more about that later. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and get started on those herbs. All right, bye everybody.